Film Dimension interview. I'm speaking with James Price. He's a writer, director, filmmaker. James, how are you?
I'm good, Tom. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. This is awesome.
No problem at all. No, it's awesome to speak to you. As I say to most people when we start the conversation, what made you want to be a filmmaker? Because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing.
No, definitely. I just, I don't know what it was. I've always just been a film geek. I never really had a backup plan. Like it's all I've ever really wanted to do since a young age, and I just think total foolishness, man. Total just winging it and hoping for the best has got me this far. So
sure,
I'm keeping
that's interesting when you say there's no backup plan, because I think that's the way you got to be, isn't it? Like whatever you're doing, if it's in music, if it's in film, if it's in writing, whatever, it's like you can't have a backup plan. You can't have a plan B.
100%. I definitely, and I'm always apprehensive to say it, but I do think it's true, man. I think if you've got a backup plan, you will use it. So
yeah, exactly.
Suffer a little bit and hope for the best. That's mad way.
So, how did you get into it? You're self-taught, is that right? You haven't gone.
I'm a teenager, so I taught myself how to write scripts. I would when I was really young, around 12, 13, I would download scripts on my uncle's computer, and mostly just of films I liked, or sometimes it was unproduced scripts, films that hadn't been made, and I would just study them, and I just picked up the format from doing that, and then when I got in my early 20s, I started sending some short film scripts out, and I got pretty lucky, and that was how it started.
What was the first script of a film that was made that you read and you just thought, wow, I really love this. I get this. It's the one that made you want to write more or read more.
Oh, it's a really cheesy answer, probably, but it was Pulp Fiction, man. And I remember I was in my mum's friend's house, and I was in her son's room, and they had this Pulp Fiction book, and I didn't know what it was. I knew I was aware of the film, and I didn't realize it was a script book. But I remember I took it downstairs, and I was like kind of purposely reading it in front of her, hoping that she would let me take a loan of it, and she let me to keep it, and I've still got it to this day. But that was the main one, and just from watching Pulp Fiction and then reading the script as I was watching it, I just picked up what everything meant, and that was a really important one. That was a big one for me.
I mean, it's a great film. It's a great script, and lots of people have said that, haven't they? They said, if you want to, even for people who are experienced, that there's a film that you've seen like 50 times, and go back and either read the script while you're watching it, or go back and make a note of when the action scenes happen, when the introduction of a character happens, at what point.
100%. To this day, I still definitely
take the film apart, don't you?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I still do that. I still I still steal all my best stuff from other people's scripts, to be honest, and just read tricks and just things to kind of get there quicker. No, definitely. I'd still say that's the best advice I could give to anybody, just to read as many scripts if you can, and especially films that you like.
Sure, absolutely. What was the first short film that you made? That you felt that was your sort of proper film?
Yeah, the one that's not that was I rounded up two pals from my wee town I live in, Glasgow, called Springburn, and we shot a little movie on two iPhones and a iPhone 4s and an iPod Touch, and it's awful, and I'll never say the name of it. But not long after that, I did a short film called Concrete and Flowers, and that was my first kind of proper film. I won a competition that Screen Education Edinburgh were doing, and they basically just gave you equipment to go make a film. And that was the very first thing I made. But after I made it, it was the first thing I properly made, so I wasn't prepared for like when you first see your first cut or assembly of a film, they're never great. It's never what you've written. It's always something different. It always becomes something else. And I was just really kind of disheartened and depressed by it. So I buried the film for years, and it wasn't until 2 years ago somebody saw it at the BBC and got it televised for me, and it got quite a big. I mean, I'm actually really proud of it now, but just at the time, I was just so green and new to everything that I was convinced I'd made a bad film, but it doesn't seem to be good. It's done all right. It's done all right since.
Sure, that's always really good, that if someone else is viewing it and giving you feedback. What was your sort of moves after that? Basically you were committed that I'm gonna just keep making films, or were you working on other people's projects and then that gave you ideas?
I did, because I didn't have any formal training or anything. I helped out in a lot of student films that were all not great, but it got me on sets and got me learning the lingo, and I was just trying to attach myself to as much stuff as I could as possible. But after I did Concrete and Flowers, I sent a script to a script competition called Jump Cut, which was ran by Sigma, who did like Under the Skin, and they still do big films up here. And that went into production, and a director called Sam Salim directed it. And when that short film came out, it did really well festival wise, and got a wee couple of BAFTA nominations. So that was kind of the first thing that gave me a real boost and opened up a lot of doors for me.
I mean that's massive, isn't it? The fact that you can make a short film and it gets BAFTA nominated, because many don't. So that's really good, and that must have made you feel that actually, well, I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm
100%. Yeah, I felt like it just felt so real and so sudden. I was just in total shock. I never expected anything. Even when I saw the first cut of that film, I remember just being like, "Is this good?" Like I was just too close to it. But now, like when I watch it back, I'm really proud of that as well. And the director did an amazing job. He's still a really good friend of mine. He's a real talented director.
That's cool. So what was the transition between that to Boys Night Out and doing that? Was it just more ideas, more films? And do you try to obviously there's sort of two ways of approaching it. It's just keep working and producing lots of ideas, or are you more selective that you only want to put a certain amount of films out but put lots of effort and time and thought into them?
Yeah, I'm a bit like that. I'm always worried. Like, I feel like I've got an okay track record. Like, I've not made anything that I'm completely not proud of, and so I was a bit careful. But after all that happened, like I did think, like I thought after the BAFTA, I thought once they've gone over for a few BAFTAs, I was like, oh, this is it. I'm made. It's all like Peter Mullen's going to call me up. We're going to be friends. So I thought all this stuff was going to happen, and it didn't. So everything went quiet. Not long after I did this festival run, and I realised, oh shit, now it's kind of on me to make something else. So by that point I'd met enough people, and I got together a little crew. I made a little movie that ended up on BBC iPlayer, and it was kind of like a little love letter to Alan Clark films, and that kind of that got me. It was another thing made. It did okay, and I think it kind of really helped get me the Boys Night commission, man.
So you definitely think that the things you produced and things you directed and wrote help. It was a journey, as in like each one led on to the other one.
100%, and it's still definitely, and that's still the way it's going. Like, the next thing always leads to the next thing, and sometimes it comes from a side angle that you don't expect. But I definitely think they all build on top of each other a bit.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, again, I really like Boys Night Out. It was recommended to watch it to me, and I found it, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. And again, it's one of those films that it's in many ways it's quite difficult to watch, but in an endearing way. But you can't stop watching it. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in,
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
It's kind of like you're very much sucked into it. So from that point of view, from a short film, which is it's about 15 minutes long, something like that.
Yeah.
The fact that can do that for that length of time, but like a feature film would be, that it has a proper sort of journey. You at no point during that was I kind of thinking, oh, well, that's not believable, or that's not right. It was just like, wow, you're in this world and you're following these two the father and the son's interaction and everything else. How long did that take to film? Like, how many sort of days and nights? It's mainly at night, isn't it?
Yeah. It was 5 nights. I think we shot it from the Sunday to the Thursday, and I think we'd go in wee day pickups just to get some bits and bobs. But yeah, it was it was quite intense. It was like once we started, we just kind of finished, and it flew by, man. But it was great fun, really great fun.
And was that a film that you did crowdfunding for to get finance? Was it self-financed?
That was my first ever thing I had with a budget. That was there was a program up here called SFTN. It just disappeared, but it's been replaced by something else. And it's kind of the only way to get short films funded in Scotland, sadly. But it was at that point. And Yeah, it was great. So it's still the only thing I've really made directed with had a proper little bit of money behind it. We did a little bit of crowdfunding to try and just boost the budget a little bit, but we didn't get much. But
Sure.
it was a great experience. It was still really cool to make something that had all the
Yeah,
moving parts.
absolutely. Again, I've been lucky enough to speak to a couple of Scottish filmmakers now. Um, each one has their own view of what making films in Scotland is like. What's your view of Scottish filmmaking at the moment? Both what is going on in Scotland, the talent, the people, and the films, and what makes films made in Scotland different to say films made in England.
I know it's interesting. That's a good question. I think as far as Scotland goes, look, I do think there's a lot of really exciting talent up here. There's people like you know, Simone Simone Smith. Oh God, I forgot her surname. Yeah, Simone Smith, who's doing great work, and Brian Ferguson. There's a lot of just really exciting voices up here. My friends, Douglas King, Sean Hughes, Graham Hughes, all just great filmmakers. There is a lot of great people coming out, and I think it's a really exciting time. But the one thing that all these guys have in common is they didn't wait for people to give them money, and they still don't wait for people. Like this, you have to just go out and make stuff. Like that's the sad truth of it. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't get into filmmaking if you enjoy having money. That's my advice to anyway.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Do you think that's what stops a lot of people? Maybe, that have dreams or aspirations of being a filmmaker, or whether it's a writer, director, or just someone who's just a cameraman, but they kind of think that they're never gonna get paid, have like
Well,
a career and make.
definitely, 100%. I could I've came close to giving up myself. Sometimes I'm glad I didn't, but it can be hard. You know what I mean? Definitely, it always feels like two steps forward and one back a little bit. So it's always pretty. I think it's just always about trying to keep yourself motivated and kind of just believing in yourself. That's the main bit of advice I'd give, man. But yeah, it can be tough up here. But it's I think things are going to get better. I do feel. I'm sure people have probably been saying that for years, but I do feel like things will pick up a bit. But it's just
What do you
just
think
perseverance.
from an independent filmmaker's point of view, being like yourself, who's actually making stuff into the trenches, if you like, what could make independent film stronger or better? Or if there was either a government thing, which there probably won't be, or if there's an arts council thing, or even if it's like a commercial thing, like you know Netflix decided they were going to invest serious amounts of money into independent film, what what would be the most help to people? Obviously, everyone getting 50 grand each would go a long way. But if it's not just a money thing, what in your opinion would help in
I
independent
think
film
one
industry?
thing that's definitely missing up here is there's a lot of focus on kind of making really kind of low budget shots and giving people money to do that. But I think like if there was a bit more effort up here, because most people are making really good short films off their own backs and are proving themselves by doing them, so I think there should be more help into helping people get the like a micro budget features made. I think that would be a big like just it'd be more of a step forward for a lot of people. There's a lot of really talented filmmakers who've been at it longer than me, and it's quite sad that they've not got that proper break yet. I think if there was more done just to get people trying, and I understand why it's not. It's a difficult thing making a feature, and whether you like it or not, it definitely takes a lot more money. It's but I do think like that would probably be there should be more kind of effort to help 'em- to help people that are proving their voice already. Just try and make the first feature.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, off the back of Boys Night Out, and it's won awards. It's been at the festivals. Um, what's your well one what was your experience on that, and did it do what you wanted to achieve in the first place, and has that helped with your next project? Are you working on something at the moment? Obviously COVID has kind of been
No,
a bit
definitely,
of an
yeah.
issue, but
Yeah,
um
man. It's like it did pretty well. Like and we didn't have much money. That was probably one thing that was like all the money that went to the film, it all went on screen. Um, I feel like I wish we had a bit more money to do a better festival run. we let ourselves down a little bit in that aspect. We didn't get to play as many festivals as I would have liked. But as far as the film goes, like I'm really proud of it. I do think it's probably the best thing I've did, and it definitely got the reaction I wanted. Like I was overwhelmed by the response to it. And in a weird way, it led directly to what I ended up doing afterwards. Are you a Sopranos fan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by sheer by a sheer brass neck, I asked Michael Imperioli of the Sopranos if I could make him a music video for his band, and
Oh
they
wow.
agreed. And it was basically he loved Boys Night, so it was kind of based on Boys Night. Really, I think that was the
Oh
main film I mainly watched, and they had such a great response to it. So I made him a music video. It's all done and dusted. He dropped the first trailer on his Instagram a few weeks ago, so I can't wait for him to drop. I'm quite excited.
I would love to see that. Yeah, as I said, he has put it on his Instagram, or did you say he put the
He just
trailer?
did just a trailer so far. He
Okay.
just put a trailer up, so I think he's going to drop it in the next week or two, if I had to guess. But
Wow, I'll have to watch out for that because
yeah,
yeah, that
I'll get you a wee sneaky link. I'll get you a wee sneaky black market link. You can have a
I
gander
would
at.
appreciate that. No, I
Yeah.
was a big Sopranos fan back in the day. Do you know it's funny? It's I haven't revisited The Sopranos for a long time. I've got like the DVD box sets for most of the series, and I haven't been tempted to go back because yeah, sometimes it is repeated on whatever channel, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it's almost like because I watched it so much, I was like quite into it. It's almost like I don't want to dedicate that much time again. Do you know what I mean? I
No,
will
definitely.
eventually, but not at the moment.
I
But
know, I know. It's such an investment. I'm the same with The Wire. Like I find it so hard to go back, and I've watched the
yeah,
first episode like 10 times now, trying to get back into it. But it's just I feel like it's all still in my head somewhere.
yeah, and it's also because it's you know it's quite a long time ago now. It kind
Yeah.
of it made a lot of sense to me back then. The people I knew who watched it as well, and it's kind of like it's almost like a time shot of where I was
100%. Yeah.
then, and
Yeah.
it's
Total
like
time capsule. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Um, what again? I mean, we touched on it with in independent filmmaking, but films generally, obviously, because we got this really weird transition period at the moment with digital downloading, streaming, the likes of Netflix, disrupting the industry and COVID and studios releasing big films not in the cinema and that sort of stuff. Where do you see just cinema generally going? And what frustrates you with like Hollywood and or even the UK with the money that it's got for big productions, but it's kind of always over there. Do you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't trickle down. What do you have any opinions on just the state of film?
I know it's fascinating. It's a really fascinating thing to be witnessing. Yeah, it's really strange. I don't know, man. Like I do miss the one thing I have definitely missed during lockdown is just going to the cinema, and who knows if it's ever going to be the same after this. It looks like everything's might be totally on demand, and
Yeah,
it's just such a strange time. But at the same time, I'm hoping that because there is such a, I feel like especially if people make their own content and if they're building up their own audiences, I'm hoping that there's more opportunities for people just to kind of get stuff on platforms like Netflix and everything, But it's such a strange time. I'm not sure. I couldn't predict it. I'm not sure where it's going to end up.
yeah, it's yeah. I don't think anyone can. That's kind of the problem, isn't it? Even the people with
Yeah.
the money are not quite sure sure
No,
what's going to
definitely,
happen.
definitely,
So
yeah.
it is a strange time. So if anyone's interested in finding out more about the other films you've done, you do have a website. You're on social media. Where's the best sort of place for people to find you?
Yeah, I've got a wee website called www.priceyfilms.com, just PRICEY, and I'm Pricey Films on Instagram as well. So you can find out you can see what I'm up to on there. Yeah.
Cool. And do you have any future projects that you're kind of working on at the moment, or going to see?
I've been really lucky. I've got a few writing gigs, but it's mostly for the television stuff,
Okay.
which is not something that I expected. But I've kind of been pulled in that direction, and yeah, some stuff quite exciting. But it's everything's just happens really slowly, as from what I can see. And
Yeah.
yeah, to be honest, I'm just dying to go make something again. There's a part of me that really wants to just make a micro budget feature in the summer.
Yeah.
and just do it the way we do the shorts and just get something made and get it out there. But that's more just down to my selfish like addiction just to making stuff. I just I just feel at my best when I've got a project on the go, to be honest. So
Sure. No, I get that. That's what's got you as far as it has, you know. What would be your dream film to make? If someone to say like, here's the budget, whatever budget you want, anything, absolutely anything. What genre would it be, and what would it be, like a remake? Would it be something original? Like,
well, that's a really good question. Definitely, I'm definitely really drawn to kind of the crime drama world a little bit. Like I would love to make something set in Scotland that resembles like a Safdie Brothers kind of film. Like that would be my absolute dream. Like I'm obsessed with Good Time, Uncut Gems, and even their earlier films. I just think they've just got a really unique take that feels kind of a little bit British at times. I just think there's something to them. And but yeah, as far as a remake goes, so that's a good question. What would a remake? Do you know what I'd love to remake? I probably shouldn't say this, but there's a Japanese film called Sonatine that I feel like I could do in a small coastal Scottish town. Like do a really like the Ben
okay,
Wheatley version.
I don't know that one. Again, it's frustrating, isn't it? Because all the remakes that get remade are not always the best films, and yeah, there's so many really cool, quirky films, but were made like 40, 50, 60 years ago, that could be remade. They're never the ones that are they?
No, I know it's always something that's it's always some sort of behemoth that gets remade. I know it's always the same.
Yeah. I remember I was watching a stand-up comedian many years ago, and he was saying, why don't they remake bad movies? And he said, why don't they do a remake of Spice World, but made that good, you know? And I'd just be like, yeah, it's true. It's like, you know, someone could come along and go, right, we're remaking Spice World, but they're all like, I don't know, superheroes or they're zombies.
That's a good question. That's a question I'm going to throw at you. What bad movie would you like to see remade?
Again, that's a good question. I don't know, because I'm trying to think of all the films that I've seen that I just think are awful. I don't know. I'm trying to think, because could you take like just a bad film that's just nothing good about it and completely change it, or could you take a really good idea that was just executed really badly? I'm trying to think of like I kind of want to say the last Terminator. You know, what was the one, the very last one where?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I wanted to like it. I'm the same as you. Like, it shouldn't have been bad. Like, there's no way it should have been bad. It's
it just it was such a disappointment.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I know.
And because it had all the, you know, James Cameron back, he wasn't directing it, but he was producing it. You know, they had Sarah Connor's character had kind of come back, you know, a different timeline, and yeah, it's just really all of those parts together should have made something better.
I know.
So I would say that, or doing another pickup from after Terminator 2, but none of all the other films, just pretend they didn't happen.
And then 100%. Yeah, that's
years ago, I remember speaking to a friend, and I will say, because I loved the film Terminator 2 as a kid. It came out on video when I was in school, and getting it. I think the first night it came out on video, it was like we got it from the video shop, and I watched it probably twice that evening or whatever. And I always thought you could make a film, I think an interesting film, like really independent one, based on who was John Connor's friend, the guy with
the mullet, the kid with the mullet. Yeah,
but from his perspective, that you can make a film as like, you know, 1 minute his friend is here, then he suddenly gets chased by, and you never see him again. It's like, well, what would he be thinking? Do you know what I mean? Like,
what's compressed, 100%.
He'll be watching the news and stuff. He'll be like, my God, like all this crazy shit is happening to my friend John Connor. Like, but to me, that would be really interesting. Like, how does he grow up?
100%. That's a great idea, definitely.
You know, in his 30s, he'll be like, oh shit, like a robot's coming for me. Like, do you know what I mean?
Like, definitely.
Fuck with your head, you know.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm not sure that will ever get made. But it should.
I know, but it should. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So probably one of those. I've really enjoyed chatting to you. I think you're making some really interesting films, and I'm going to put a boys' night out on the Film Dimension in the next couple of days. So when this interview goes up, probably over the weekend, hopefully there'll be a link to it. And yeah, I'm going to promote it and get people to watch it. You know, because
Thank you so much, man. Honestly, it means a lot. It really does, man. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
No, not a problem. No, thanks for you coming on.